pronouns can basically be divided into two broad categories: subject pronouns, which replace the subjects of sentences, and object pronouns, which replace just about everything else.
That's right. Now, we've been using subject pronouns from the get-go, so we know that you know those.
That's why we're going to focus on the three kinds of object pronouns: direct, indirect, and objects of the preposition. What are you doing?
Focusing.
By now, you're probably pretty familiar with the subject pronouns. Yo, tú, usted, él, and ella, nosotros, vosotros, and ustedes, ellos, and ellas. We've been using them all along. Subject pronouns can be used to replace the subject of a sentence.
Pedro cuida el perro a Paula. Él cuida el perro a Paula.
Object pronouns work much the same way. First, let's take a look at direct object pronouns.
Here are our direct object pronouns.
Me, te, lo y la, nos, os, los y las.
There are two things to point out here. Notice that the you formal forms kind of got sucked into the third-person masculine and third-person feminine forms. Also notice how all of a sudden we can use the word it, lo and los, are used to replace masculine nouns, and la and las can be used to replace feminine nouns. Keep that in mind when your noun is an animal or an inanimate object.
And just like we changed Pedro into the subject pronoun él in our sentence, we can change our direct object, in this case, el perro, into its pronoun, which in this case would be the third-person masculine lo. Pedro cuida el perro a Paula. Pedro lo cuida a Paula.
In the sentence, Pedro lo cuida a Paula, we're basically saying Pedro takes care of it for Paula.
It being the dog, a.k.a. the animal Paula can't seem to find the precious time to take care of. I mean, when people go out and get pets and they don't have the time to take care of them, nothing...
Annie, it's just an example. Paul is not real. The dog is not real. It's just an example. As we were saying in the sentence, Pedro lo cuida a Paula, notice we put the direct object pronoun right in front of the verb cuida. That's because, well, that's where it goes. When you're using a direct object pronoun with a conjugated verb, the pronoun goes right in front of it.
The direct object pronoun goes before the conjugated verb.
Wait a second. I thought that the word no always comes before the verb if you want to make a sentence negative. Like if we say, Pedro no cuida el perro a Paula. How can I put no and the direct object lo right in front of the verb? They both won't fit.
Good call. The object pronouns always beat out the word no, so they get to be closer to the verb.
So, in the sentence, Pedro no cuida el perro a Paula, when we replace the el perro with lo, we tuck it right in between the no and the cuida. Pedro no lo cuida a Paula.
So, to sum up, the direct object pronoun always beats out the no in the battle over who gets to be closer to the verb. While 90% of the time the direct object pronoun goes in front of the verb, occasionally there are exceptions. If you're using a direct object pronoun and the verb in the sentence is in its infinitive form or in its present participle form, then you have a couple choices. Let's go back to our example.
Pedro lo cuida a Paula.
Okay, here we know we have to put the object pronoun lo right before the conjugated verb cuidar. But what if the verb in our original sentence was in the infinitive form? Pedro va a cuidar el perro a Paula. Or its present participle form. Pedro está cuidando el perro a Paula. When the verb is in the infinitive or participle form, you can either put the pronoun in front of the first verb as you normally would.
Pedro lo va a cuidar a Paula. Pedro lo está cuidando a Paula.
Or attach it to the end of the last verb like this.
Pedro va a cuidarlo a Paula. Pedro está cuidándolo a Paula.
See? The lo can either go before the first verb or attach to the end of the last verb.
Ah, Pedro está cuidándolo a Paula. ¡Qué simpático!
See? You can just stick the direct object pronoun lo to the end of the participle.
Did you notice how we had to put an accent on the A in cuidando when we attached the lo? Sometimes when you're attaching stuff to the end of verbs, you have to add an accent to maintain the integrity of the verb's pronunciation. If we didn't use the accent, cuidandolo would be pronounced cuidandolo, which sounds wrong.